right, so welcome. Sue, Sally, had a little share already, so quite appropriate today's lesson and quote, given some stuff around fear and being willing to take the step out of the known into the unknown, the hero's journey. Today's lesson is really perfect for that. So if you can read that for us, Sue, I'll just expand it a bit. Can you read that quote, which is actually Psalm 23 from the Bible, and just adapt it into our alternative language to make it a bit more relevant?
Okay. Right. Pure, bliss, awareness of perfect love is my guide. And so I shall not want for anything. It helps me to rest in the pastures of eternal life and leads me beside the still waters of my being. It restores my soul and leads me in the ways of right-mindedness in the identity of my true self. Although I walk through the valley of the shadow of death in this world, I will fear no evil, for the pure, formless awareness of perfect love is with me, and its discipline and support comfort me. It prepares a table of abundance in the presence of my seeming enemies and blesses me with beneficence, so my cup runs over.
So how does that feel when you read that?
It feels quite comforting, really. It feels like the guidance is there, the support is there. There's still a bit of the unknown.
So, nothing in this world is certain, but the only certainty is this presence that this psalm is calling upon, the presence of God, or as we call it, pure formless awareness of perfect love, saying this is always there, it's going to guide me, it's going to protect me, and it's always there to support and comfort me no matter what's happening in the journey. And it's, this is your security, this is your safety, and the only safety you'll find in this world.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder.
Yeah, so use it if it works for you. If it helps you to have this unshakable faith, then use this version of the prayer. So I've translated it for you. So. Okay, and if you read the first couple of paragraphs.
Okay, today's inspirational quote, which is Psalm 23 from the Old Testament of the Bible, translated into our alternative AOLG language, highlights some of the many benefits of trusting God, or pure formless awareness of perfect love, to guide you through your life in this world. As the quote points out, trusting this presence is the key to letting go of the idea and experience of scarcity, sacrifice, loss, death, and the fear and that eagerly sponsors all these false beliefs and emotions.
Okay.
Therefore, in this powerful presence of perfect love that's still in your mind is also the key to receiving guidance about what to do and allowing abundance, peace, eternal life, miracles, your true self, or Christ identity, and freedom from fear and conflict to enter your life and bless you with their beneficence,
yeah.
Beneficence.
Yeah, blessings. You feel happy and peaceful and calm, and these are the gifts of God. So any thoughts on those first couple of paragraphs?
Wow.
Why have you got yourself in an arm lock?
Good question. Yeah, well, it's just trusting and letting go, just allowing, just just to go there, go there with trust.
Trusting this one presence, right? There's an unshakable presence in you, an awareness without which you would have no life. It's the very essence of who you are. We call it pure formless awareness of perfect love in our language, God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. But there's something there that is permanent, that's eternal, that's unchanging through all of the changes of time and space. And that's the only presence that you can trust, because it's the only thing that doesn't change. And this is what the psalm and this teaching is pointing to always. There's this unshakable presence. And so how can you fear? If you are that presence, you are eternally in that. This is infinite and eternal and abundant. Nothing can really affect it. It cannot be damaged. It cannot be threatened. It certainly cannot die. Then how can you experience fear if that's the truth of who you are? It's only a misidentification with another false self that causes fear. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So your true self, or another Course in Miracles language, your Christ self, Christ identity, is the one self that helps you to do this. See if I can find that diagram from yesterday, day 178, I think we want. So yesterday's has the Holy Trinity, operating system. Did you see this one?
I did see this actually.
Oh, so it's an operating system for your life, which involves where's the diagram gone? Display images. There you go. So you've got God the Father, heaven, love, oneness, eternity, pure formless awareness, perfect love, whatever you want to call it, source, knowledge.
Yeah.
That's what the psalm is asking us to go to. But there's this sense of in the ACIM, in this operating system, because that's what it is. You have this idea of a true self or a Christ, called the Buddha or the Atman in the Eastern teachings, which becomes the replacement for the separate self, which is saying, anything, you can handle anything because you have this enormous power behind you. And so this is what's calling you to the hero's journey, because it's invincible, it's invulnerable, it cannot suffer, it cannot age, and there's no fear. So it's like you are that, are this presence. And so as we take our journey, we develop more and more awareness of this. And then that self starts to perceive correctly. We now have true perceptions, also called Christ vision, or miracles, or whole awareness, through the process of forgiveness, or otherwise known as letting go, or surrender, it's called in some spiritual teachings. To let go of the known world, to let go of the obstacles, the blocks to awareness of love's presence, and just perceive this world of time and space, physical universe of time and space, and all the people, things, places, events, circumstances, situations, traumas, successes, failures, and everything else differently.
Everything that we know, everything that we currently
know in the known world is perceived differently, because you see that underlying it all is this Christ self And underlying that is the pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's always there. It's this other reality that's been hidden, covered over by all of this. So this is the veil of illusion. And the only purpose of the veil of illusion is to justify another self. So you now have this alternative self going on here, the ego, which believes in all of this very much so, and identifies with it, and juices these situations for all they're worth. So all of the negative thoughts and emotions that you've ever experienced come from that false self, which is the ego. That's in contradiction, that cannot be reconciled with the true self, Christ. You know, Christ and the devil don't agree on anything. They are different thought systems, opposite thought systems. So if you look at this sent into hell diagram, you know, there's a split. There's God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness, and now there seems to be a split, and there's another self, another idea going on in your mind, and these ideas are at odds. They conflict with each other, and you can't reconcile them because they contradict each other. So you must choose which one you're going to believe in.
And the ego, it feels like there's such a strong battle with the ego. Yeah,
because this is who you think you are. You see, the immensity of what we've done. You know, Yeshua's trying to tell us that. He says this is an error so vast and so completely incomprehensible that you can't conceive of it.
It's like the ego wants to hold on. That's what this is. This is the ego trying to hold on. That's what I feel like.
Yes, exactly. Kind of holds you literally in a lock. It's like you got yourself.
Yeah.
You're holding on, but you're like literally strangling yourself.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. Oh.
So it's a bind, you know, that it's got you in. And the reason it's difficult and you struggle is because you've identified with a separate self. You think you are that self, right? This is the delusion. We think that this ego separated consciousness is us now. And now we have an individual self that needs to be defended and protected from all the apparent threats which we've invented. So the fear, the false expectation of punishment appearing real is because we feel guilty for what we think we've done. We've created a false identity, and in our minds, we've destroyed this. We've destroyed pure formless awareness or love in our minds in order to create the false identity. And so the ego is telling us, well, you've really pulled this off, and therefore you're really guilty of doing this. So now sin and guilt come into our mind, and fear is the expectation of punishment for that apparent sin. And that's what was coming up for Sally very strongly as a result of the situation. So that's a very deep-seated program. And this is what most people believe by default. If you believe in a separate self, then you believe in guilt and sin and fear, and then attack is inevitable. This is based on a thought system that expects attack.
And at the same time,
expectation of punishment appearing real.
Yes, and at the same time, all that's going on, there's a deep-seated feeling that this pure formless love is there, and so that's what creates the conflict, because
so that's the Holy Spirit coming from your true mind, which is still remembers this. Holy Spirit comes into the dream and says, okay, you know, it looks beyond all these illusions of the ego and says that you are eternal life. You are still one with this awareness, that love is still present, and therefore you need not fear, and you need not feel guilty or sinful. You need not attack. You know, none of these are appropriate because you are still this awareness, and you never did separate it from it. See? Separation isn't true or real. So none of its effects can be real either. So that's the radical forgiveness we're practicing. None of this can be true. It's simply in the extreme, you know, when the ego is tempting you and it's kicking off and there's all the fear and the guilt and sin and whatever else it's trying, to recognize that all of that is illusion. All of that is not true. And it's merely being used by the ego to justify itself. Because it wants to maintain the idea of a separate self in your mind. And it uses your life situations to do that. But the one simple truth that Yeshua is teaching us is that it's never justified. Separation in any form is never justified because it's untrue. It's that simple. So the false is false and the true is true, and they don't meet. And you simply need to have the clarity of perception to see that in every situation, to undo the ego entirely, which is what we're training ourselves to do here, to have really clarity, clear perception. So that this is true, this voice is true, and nothing else is true. And then there's not really a split, there's no conflict. You just listen to the one voice. The other voice isn't there anymore. And that's the enlightened state where you're totally free of the ego, ultimately, which is the objective of the of this whole hero's journey. Okay, does that make some sense? So that's the context, that's the metaphysics of what's going on here. Behind the hero's journey, and behind, yes, I feel a call to take the journey, and then I also feel a strong resistance to not take the journey.
I think when I remind myself that we are one, then it just everything just feels much more relaxed.
Yeah. There's no separate self anymore.
Yeah.
To defend.
It feels relief, actually. When I remind myself that's what's going on. We are one, and this is all about the pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's yeah. And then you can just let go of everything else.
It's very comforting. Like, okay, this is still true. It always has been true, always will be true. It's still true now. So whatever the ego's invented here, this entire mad dream that you see in the red arrows and boxes, it's all false. None of it's true. So you can let it all go, and you can be free of it.
Yeah.
And that's a choice you can make moment by moment.
Yeah. So it's convincing my body because it's my body or whatever it is bringing all these emotions up.
Yeah, it's not your body, it's your mind.
It's convincing my mind. So my mind is bringing up all these emotions.
Mind. Yeah, and then the emotions play out in the so-called body. You seemingly feel them in the body because the mind's trying to convince you that you're still a body.
Yeah.
That somehow there's some kind of separate identity in the body. But as today's lesson says, I'm not a body.
I'm not a body.
I'm free. I'm still as perfect love created or extended me. So I can't be a body. There is no separation. I must be spirit or the pure formless awareness of perfect love and nothing else. If that's all I am. Okay.
I feel like I understand the chart better every time something like this happens, because when you really live it and then you look at the chart and you can see where you've been on the chart, go, get it, all right.
So that's why I refer back to it all the time.
It helps.
To go, okay, so here's the metaphysics. This is the teaching of the Course explained in one diagram. Okay, so let's reference to that. So then you start really understanding it. You go, okay, I'm understanding how this works. I'm understanding how the ego's thought system works here, experientially, because it's showing up in my experience, and I'm now able to see it clearly for what it is, and to let it go and do the reinterpretation because I can see it clearly. And so the whole thing is bringing clarity into your misperceptions. That's the mind training that Yeshua is doing for us, saying if you understand what it is and you see this thought system for what it is, you cannot believe in it anymore. You'll go, this is just madness. It's ludicrous, it's mad, and thank God I can let it all go. I don't have to be bound by these thoughts and these emotions anymore. I can let them go. There is a somewhere where I can go. And in fact, it's the only thing that makes sense in this world. There's nothing else that I'm here to do. And so then the more you operate the thought system, remember it's an operating system of Father, the source, right? There's source, Father, Son, which is the extension of the source, seemingly lost in his dream world. That's you. But then there's the Holy Spirit that's the intermediary between those. It says, okay, well, you've got lost in your dream world, but you can remember the truth. And so now you need this guidance to come in and remind you in this really dark dream you've invented of what the truth is. And so the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, or the source, your formless awareness of perfect love, its extension, and the remembrance by the extension of its source are all necessary components of the operating system to operate this in the world systematically and progressively. Let go of the ego as it arises in all the life situations you experience, and as you do that, climb back up the ladder of separation from the belief in a victim, that you're a victim of a cruel, unfair world, living a helpless, enervated little life, which is hell, and to escape that belief, climb back up the ladder of separation to the point where the entire belief in separation is undone. There is no more ego consciousness of any kind of separate self, no more belief in separation, no more Satan, just pure formless awareness of perfect love remains. And so that's, the final step is taken by God. We merge into that presence. All of this simply disappears, and we are exactly as we have always been. Nothing's really changed. We're just back home, and the journey is forgotten and undone completely. And so it's game over for the ego. There is no separate sense of separation. There is no thought of separation anymore in the full at-one-ment that Yeshua is holding out to us. Okay? Any questions, comments on that? All good?
Glad to be on here. Glad to be here in this energy.
Well, it's so powerful. I mean, he's giving us an operating system to get us out of the matrix. It's profound. And it's actually really clear. It's not ambiguous. And he's giving us a way of practicing it every day through these lessons. What more can you want? It's all there for you. You just got to know how to use it and have some discipline to use it. So, the idea of the art of letting go is just kind of to facilitate that process of you learning this systematically and progressively in your life daily as these situations come up. And then you, instead of just theoretical, this becomes experiential understanding. Yeah, I understand how this all works experientially. I understand just the power of the Holy Spirit's thought system, because I experience it. It's helping me all the time to let go of stuff that's arising and on this journey of awakening. That's my own hero's journey, and I'm living it. And then the book, it's not just a book anymore. Too many people look at the book and they go, oh, it's just like a tome and it's lots of words. And the book becomes the living truth. It's living in you, in your life, and it's really helping you moment by moment to live in this enlightened way. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not just a book. It's not theory. It's, can you make this into a practical living philosophy that guides you moment by moment in your daily life? A new operating system, in other words. And that's what we're trying to do with the Art of Letting Go program, to help you to install a new operating system that is so much better, so much more effective than the old one, that allows you to live in the domain of the miraculous, allows you to have all kinds of really happy, joyful experiences, the happy dream, as Yeshua calls it, of awakening, to go on this hero's journey and use this lifetime for what it's really for, which is the awakening from the dream. That's all you had to do. And then return with these gifts and return to bless other people and be the catalyst for other people's hero's journey. And the more people that do that, the more the transformation happens, the more the journey of the at-one-ment process of the one-ment is happening, and the more the world will change. And that's all we're really here to do. So it's like one person's awakening is the catalyst for another's and another's and so on. And the more people that do that, the more likely it is that everyone's going to awaken. We're in a time, I believe, where that's happening more and more. There is some kind of mass awakening and critical mass being achieved. You only need, I think the number is 3.5% of the population to accept a new paradigm, and then a revolution happens. So 3.5% of the world population understanding this and actually living it on their heroes and being on their hero's journey would awaken humanity. Would be like a chain reaction. So why not? Why not? I don't think it's 3.5% yet, but it could be. If this teaching gets out there, imagine 5-10% of humanity awakening and going on their hero's journey, and it's profound. And then they're the catalyst for others awakening, and they become the helpers in someone else's journey, and that's right. And that's what we're here to do. So can you see how the course is teaching, and this diagram that I've showed you, can you see how that kind of fits in with the hero's journey?
Yeah, challenges on the way.
So all of this is what's going to challenge you, and then it's about overcoming that, and that's your hero's journey. Is the overcoming of this really crazy, insane thought system that's going to keep coming up on the journey, and the reinterpretation of this madness by the Holy Spirit is then the process of your hero's journey. That's how you awaken. That's how you follow the hero's journey. Now, what moves you through these phases of the dream is quickly is letting go. So Yeshua is giving us a process. He's saying this process of forgiveness or letting go is what's going to move you quickly along this journey, to take the hero's journey, to learn the lessons, and to come out the other side where you can be a teacher of God, and you can really teach. You can teach other people this process of awakening because you've been through it. You can't really teach it until you've experienced it. And so, maybe that's inevitably what's calling you. You go on your own hero's journey. Down the line, you come back with a gift, and you become a teacher of sorts. How exactly that looks, you don't necessarily know, but you just trust the process. You say, look, it's a universal archetype, and I trust that if I do this, it's all going to be shown to me and revealed. And it's quite good that you don't know up front, because it would be a bit boring if you did. If you knew every step of the journey, and also what makes it challenging, and so you get the tests you need to awaken is the uncertainty. You don't know, so you have to dig deep, and you have to call upon the pure formless awareness of perfect love for your faith, and that digging deep into that, connecting with that, is exactly what the process is about. To strengthen that connection, so ultimately you come to the awareness that you are that presence. There's no separation. It's not something outside of you. That is you. It's the very core of you, your true essence, your true identity. And so the hero's journey is to know yourself, know thyself. That's the injunction of all the great spiritual teachers and teachings. And the hero's journey is how you come to know yourself, with the help of a great teaching like A Course in Miracles, and mentors and guides along the way. It's a done deal. It will happen inevitably. So just surrender to it and makes your life a whole lot easier. As you say, you make it difficult by resisting the process. If you don't resist, then it can actually be a very joyful journey of awakening once you've got through the initial resistance here. So it doesn't have to be difficult. Okay, so where are we? So we've just done the discussion, hero's journey, Pat Tanaka, the 3 stages. Just a quick comment on these 12 stages. You can see this in any Hollywood epic movie. They script the movies like Star Wars and Avatar and The Matrix and The Lord of the Rings, all these great epics. They are scripted pretty much on this hero's journey and broken down into the 12 phases. So if you watch these movies, you can see, okay, this is phase 1. Oh, okay, now we're in phase 2. There's a call to adventure. In phase 3, the hero refuses the call, and this is the movie playing out. So movie watching can be a great, help in your own journey, because if you can identify it clearly in movies, maybe you can identify it in your own life. Say, oh, okay, so this is where I'm at in the hero's journey. Okay, so it gives me a context, allows me to understand the journey. I'm not freaking out because I'm just understanding. I'm just doing the hero's journey, and this is where I'm at in it. And so, everything's not going wrong; it's going right. If I'm at the refusal of the call stage, it feels terrible, but it's part of the process. And there's another step beyond it. So it keeps you moving through the phases and not getting stuck in the known world, for instance, where the ego is saying to you, this is all there is. And then you get stuck there. It's like, no, I know there's something more, and I know there's a process to it. Okay, so I'm refusal of the call. What's the next step? Meet the mentor. Okay. So then you have the guidance to show up today in order to get the guidance, you see. So that's how it works. So it's listening. The spirit is always there trying to help you to take the next step on the journey. And the ego is always there trying to resist it. That's just how it goes. Until you've undone the ego, there's going to be that resistance. And so it's your choice which is going to be stronger. Do you honor the resistance, or do you honor the impulse to grow and to let it go? Your choice, as always. But it's self-evident if you understand the teaching that this is much more powerful. If this is true awareness, this is your foundation, then it must be more powerful. It's that which cannot be undone. Of course, it's more powerful than a false self, because this can be undone. This is false, and it's no matter what it's done an awful lot in the illusion of time and space. It remains false, and so how can the false ever be as powerful as what's true? And you just see that, and you go, well, okay, whatever the ego is spinning, it's just a lie. It really has no power. It's just false thought system, and all of its consequences then are false too. So why am I fearing what's false? It has no reality, really. And then you realize there's really nothing to fear. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is always there. It can, whatever is happening in the dream, it really doesn't matter, because you're still that, and it's a done deal. Ultimately, you're going to go back to that. That's the purpose of the universe. Every seemingly separate mind is going to return to pure formless awareness of perfect love, and you're just one of those apparently separate minds. So it's a done deal already. The only question is, how long do you want to take for the journey? As Yesha says in the introduction to the text. Let's find it. Introduction. Maybe you want to read that.
This is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take is voluntary.
So free. What he says, we'll translate it. Only the time you take for it is voluntary.
It's voluntary. Yeah, okay. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. But what is all-encompassing can have no opposite.
Does that make sense?
The opposite of love is fear. But what is all-encompassing? Oh, yes, it does. Yep, got you. Love is, there's no opposite. It's all-encompassing. It's everything.
So there seems to be an opposite. He's talking in two different realities. The first part of the sentence is the opposite of love is fear. Seems to be the case in this world. But in truth, what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So you look at this and you go, in truth, this is all encompassing, and it actually has no opposite. So the opposite and everything that's invented is actually nothing. All of this is really nothing, and there's really only this. We could just eliminate everything else, and you could just have this on the page, and that's the ultimate truth. It's tabula rasa. It's a blank slate. It's just, that's all it is. And everything else is a veil of illusion that you've invented to cover it over. That's all that's going on here.
So the anxiety that I was getting, I knew it wasn't real. So is that something that's just my mind is creating the anxiety, even though I know it's not real? Is it just because it's hidden, deeply hidden within me, so it's coming up, so it's not something I can be aware of?
Well, it's a deep investment in a separate self. So the separate self, individual self, has to have the anxiety in order to keep it going. Anxiety, I mean, all it's made up of is a bunch of thoughts and emotions. That's all the separate self is. So it needs the fear in order to create the contraction that separates itself and makes itself into a separate identity. You see, it must have fear.
Yeah, because
it
feels
fear and it's just pure formless awareness, then there's no separate identity.
Because because it's almost it's like uncontrollable, because in your mind you know, but it still overcomes you.
Yeah.
So is it just like I just need more mind practice that it's not real?
More mind training, yeah. So my question is to you: are you practicing the lesson every day?
Yeah. So no, if that's what I mean, I need more.
More discipline. It's like, okay,
more discipline.
What's going to undo this is a systematic approach to it, and Yeshua's given it to us in the workbook. He's saying, look, this is really deep-seated. I understand that. You believe that you're a separate self. You believe that you're in a body. Your world seems very real to you. And all of this stuff that goes on here, which is actually madness, seems very real. So, and you're entrenched in it. It's like, asking a fish what water is. The fish doesn't understand the question because it's just like that's reality for the fish. And so he's got to get us to do this mind training to start looking differently at everything that happens in our life. And so doing the daily lessons is the way he does that. That's where the rubber meets the road, of actually undoing this thought system as it shows up in your life, which it will do daily because it's the operating system's governing your life. And so then you look at it.
But the ego is the one that tries to take you away from doing it.
Well, exactly. Of course, it's not going to want to
go better.
Not going to you don't want to do spiritual practices that are going to undo it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to have resistance, and it's going to use all the tricks in the. Are you too busy, Sue? You don't have time for that. Or it's a luxury, you can't afford that. There's all kinds of excuses people invent, which is just the separate self saying, no, don't do that because it wants to maintain itself, the mind, and it knows that the spiritual practice is what's going to undo it, because the spiritual practice is how you actually do this. The theory is one thing. You can understand this till the cows come home. Oh yeah, I get the Course in Miracles. I understand all of this. Even if you understand it clearly through a diagram like this, it's not going to help you very much if you don't operate it. Oh, I understand the theory, but along comes the ego and I still fall hook, line, and sinker for it. I'm not doing any letting go. It's not going to help you at all.
Yes,
that's theory applied.
Yes.
The theory applied in the difficult situations that life presents you with. That say, okay, now you really need to let this go, and it's difficult to let it go because the ego doesn't want you to let it go because the reason why it's so sticky is because your identity is at stake here. See, the separate self of Sue is at stake. And it knows that if you do this, then Sue is being undone, and this is not a very good thing. This is a terrible thing. This is the death and non-existence in the ego's viewpoint. And so it's going to resist that process because it's literally fighting for its life. Yeah. But it's not true. That life is not true. That existence isn't true. It's a false existence. That the spirit is saying, no, this isn't who you really are. Actually, you're just pure formless awareness. And remember that, because therein lies your happiness, your peace, your safety. Everything you really want lies there. And in fact, this separate self offers you nothing if you're really honest about what it's doing. What it offers you is pain, suffering, sickness, chaos, disaster, death, over and over and over again. It doesn't seem that way because it's confused you. But that's actually, if you really lay bare its thought system, as Yeshua does for us, it doesn't offer you anything. It's just like, why would I choose death and chaos and disaster and to be a victim of a seemingly external world that's unfair and cruel and living a helpless, innovated little life? So innovation means powerlessness. Why would I choose that when I could just have your formless awareness to perfect love and just be happy and in bliss forever? Why would I possibly want to choose this instead? And the answer is you wouldn't. There's no justification for it, which is good news. There's no justification. The entire world is just the justification for your ego. So I got this insight just over a year ago when I did a 10-day Vipassana retreat. And on day 9, after 9 days of silence and hundreds of hours of meditation, this just kind of dropped in to my awareness. It was like, this world and all the negative thoughts and emotions are just, the world is the justification or the veil of illusion that's being used by the ego to justify those thoughts and emotions, which make up the ego and then cover over the pure formless awareness. And that's all that's going on. So it's really simple. It's just like, oh, well, that's so obvious. That's why it's called the veil. I then fully understood why they call it the veil of illusion. It's a veil that justifies the emotional veil. So if you want to look at this, and I'm going to show this actually because I think this would be helpful, because this is what we just worked through. If you want to look at this diagram, the desire, the perception, emotion, thought, belief, prayer, all of this is just being used. Your perceptual world is just being used to justify the emotions and the thoughts and the beliefs and the desire to be a separate self. That's what the perceptual world is about. Because the ego needs a justification to stimulate those emotions and thoughts and beliefs and then justify the desire to be a separate self. And that's all that's going on. So if you recognize that, you go, well, this is all just this is false. My perception is false. The emotion behind it is false. The thought behind it is false. The belief behind it is false. The desire to be a separate self is false. It's all false. So that perception isn't justified, and you collapse it. You prick the bubble. That's why it's shown in a circle. And it all just collapses. Then you realize that at the very core of it is the essence of who you really are. The true prayer of your heart is to be who you really are. And all of this is just a bubble that's preventing you from seeing that. And so you prick the bubble, the whole thing collapses, the perception, emotion, thought, belief, and the desire to be a separate self goes one, it's all gone, and what's restored to your awareness then is the pure formless awareness of perfect love. Beyond all of this. The very essence that all of this is just a covering. You see, it's veils. It's nicely displayed in this because it's just layers of illusion, all to cover over the very essence. The core of who you are is the one self, the Christ, which knows that it is always safe, always secure. It's just connected to pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's all it really is. And so it experiences peace. That's the very core of who you are. But all of this stuff covers that over and prevents you from seeing that and experiencing that. And so then we have a situation like this. So you see Sally's stuff, and it's just unpacking it. You just unpack it and you go, okay, so what's the perception? What's the emotion? Guilty, powerless, insecure. What's the thought? I feel like I've ruined our relationship, and I'm to blame. What's the belief? I've done something wrong and I deserve to be punished. Oh, okay, now we're getting to the core of the ego, aren't we? You're seeing it very clearly. The core of the ego is I've done something wrong, I've really separated from God, and I deserve to be punished. There we go. There's the ego belief revealing itself. And then you go, well, do I really want that? Or am I willing to let go of it? Are any of these needs then justified? I need enough rent, cover my bills. I need for my needs to be respected. Is any of that really justified? Or was that just the desire to be a separate self taking some kind of form and justifying itself? No, not really. I can collapse all of that because I don't really need any of this. What I really need, the only need I have, is to be one with my source, one with who I really am, Christ self, and to be at peace. That's the only need I really have. And so the whole bubble collapses, and then you find the peace, and you've just deconstructed another part of the ego's thought system. And that's how it goes every day. You get these lessons to help you to prick the bubble, to find the pure formless awareness that lies beyond the veil, to awaken to the truth of who you really are. So it's actually really, really simple what's going on when you understand it. It's just you have to keep reminding yourself of the truth, and you keep practicing doing these simple lessons, because it's in the ego's thought system, it's all very complex and very muddied, and it's filled with difficult thoughts and emotions, and you can't see the wood for the trees, and it gets very unclear, and you get lost in the interpolated thoughts and emotion, and you forget the simple truth in all of that. So that's why the spiritual practice is necessary, to keep you on track. Okay, I remember the truth no matter what, and I keep returning to that, because that's the only thing that's going to work to free you. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions? All clear? Well, you're a lot clearer than you were when you arrived on the call, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's a shift that's taken place, real time. Okay, so where are we? Let's go back here. We're in the which one are we in? 179. Yeah. So check that out. There's a bonus article as well. There's 5 to like just really look at all these stages. And the reason why it's helpful is because then you can identify where you are on the stage. You go, oh, okay, yeah, refusal of the quest. Okay, yeah, that's where I am. When the qual adventurers are given a task or quest which only they can complete, they're faced with a choice: accept the quest or deny it. The choice might seem like a no-brainer. If they don't accept the quest, there won't be much of a story, or will they? Actually, there are stories where heroes don't accept their destinies. When this happens, the stage is set for disaster. The reason why the powers that be have chosen a particular hero. A refusal of the quest only brings trouble. And then, there's various examples. King Minos, the monarch of Crete, who antagonizes the Greek hero Theseus, does not do what the gods ask of him. Poseidon, lord of the sea, sends him a beautiful white bull. The gods only order is that Minos must sacrifice the creature back to him. After seeing the magnificent beast, Minos decides he just can't bring himself to do what the god asks, and keeps the bull as a personal trophy. So, he's let his ego come in. Enraged, Poseidon vows revenge and causes Minos' wife to burn with lust for her husband's prized beast. The rest of the story is strictly NC-17, whatever that means. NC-17, okay. It results in the birth of the Minotaur, a creature half bull, half human, a curse to his father King Minos. Okay, so there it is in the myth. So Campbell notes that the heroes who refuse their quest often become characters in need of rescuing, on Minos' case, the villain of another hero's journey. So these are the myths that symbolize, Minos was the hero, but he refused the call. Luke refuses the quest until he learns his aunt and uncle are dead. So he has to have a real shock. His home has been burnt. His aunt and uncle are dead. Basically, his bridges are literally burnt. There's nothing to go back to. He can't stay where he is because he's got no home anymore. So he has to move. So that's kind of maybe what's happening for you. Simba refuses his return to Pride Rock and accept his destiny. He doesn't want to return. In The Lion King, Groundhog Day, example of the negative cycle caused by refusing the call. So he just gets stuck in Groundhog Day because he's not listening. So,
I think what NC-17 means is it's like an 18 rating. That, it's
right. Strictly
childlike, stuff in it.
Strictly NC-17. So we won't go there, but you can imagine if there's a half bull, half human, then you can imagine what happened in the story. So that's how it goes. Refusal of the quest has its consequences. The ego is going to tell you, oh, just maintain the safety and security, but there is no safety, and that in fact it's a disaster if you refuse the call. So there you go.
Okay.
You have the hero's journey, and all the archetypes are there to help you to say, well, you can do this. Don't fall into the trap of King Minos and others who refuse the call. Just accept it and go with it, because you save yourself a lot of angst. And so knowing that cycle, it's really helpful. It's like, okay, I'm not on my own here. There's an archetype. There's a pattern here, and it's not just unique to Sue. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel and figure this all out. It's all been figured out. I just have to follow the process. The hero's journey is the hero's journey. It's a universal archetype. It's a story of human beings awakening, which is why we're really here. So you can't reinvent that. That's the archetype. Do you surrender to the process or not? As he says, the curriculum is set. Just when you want to take it is up to you.
And there's normally a happy ending, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a happy ending because beyond it all, you realize who you really are, and you return as a reward, and you journey home. So there's a reward, there's a gift that you bring back to society, and that's your purpose in this world. You bring that back. Often in this, you become some kind of teacher, and because the real gift is what you learn on the journey. It's not anything physical. It's learning. It's the knowledge. The philosopher's stone, the Holy Grail. These are just symbols of the truth. The real treasure is in your own mind. Is what you've learned. The self, the Christ that you become through the journey. Now you bring that back into the known world, and you become the inspiring person for someone else's hero's journey. And that's what we're all here to do. And so that becomes a life well lived. There's authentic happiness. There's flow there. There's a higher purpose. There's even moments of ecstasy, ecstatic well-being. There's true success. True success is following the hero's journey. That's a successful life. So it's a very happy ending, but you've got to be willing to go, follow the process. It doesn't all just happen straight away. And you are going to experience tests and challenges on the journey. That's just how it goes. And so you come back, and you become the savior of the world, the awakener of the world, which is why you're here, to wake yourself up and wake others up. And in that, you find the meaning of your life. That's why you're here. That's why everyone's here. So, will you listen to that call and actually live that out? So it's not theoretical. I mean, Morpheus says to Neo in the Matrix, he says there's a difference between knowing the path conceptually and walking the path in actuality. You must walk the path to be on the hero's journey. So you apply all of this knowledge, the theory. Again, the theory is not going to help you much. Oh, I know the hero's journey. Do you really know it, or do you just know the theory? Difference between the theologian and the hero. The theologian knows that, oh, yeah, and I've studied that. I understand that. The academic, I understand all that. Have you walked the path? No, I haven't walked the path. I'm still in my normal, comfortable, known world. So you don't really know then, do you? Because knowing is experiential. Yeah, you've been through it. You know what the ordeal feels like, what the abyss feels like, because you've been through it. And then you can teach from that place. And you go, yeah, okay, I get it. I know what you're going through. But I know that there's something beyond it. And then you become a good teacher, because you can inspire people through your personal example.
Well, the weird thing is that one of my aims is to help people through their anxiety.
Exactly. So then what do you have to face? You have to face your own anxiety.
And it's been quite an eye-opener, to be fair. So, yeah, interesting.
So in the doing of it, then your hero's journey reveals itself. Because as you do it, you conquer your own anxiety. then you can teach from a place of, okay, no, I had this and it was hectic and it was really difficult and it was a struggle. Now you have empathy with someone who's gripped by anxiety. You go, yeah, I know exactly what it feels like, but here's what I did. Here's how I overcame it. Then they go, wow, that's really inspiring, because it means they can overcome it too. Apply the same teachings and the same methodology, and they can overcome it too. And then you inspire them to take their own hero's journey in their life. You become an example for others. And that's what you have to do. No other meaning to your life. So listening to the call is part of that meaning. If you don't listen to the call, you deny the meaning, you deny the purpose, and you're stuck in the ego's world trying to find some meaning and purpose in what has no meaning and no purpose. And you'll never do that. Because you can't find meaning and purpose in what's meaningless. There is no meaning in the ego's world. The meaning lies in the journey out of it, to escape from it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's done for the little bits of teaching. So let's go into the lesson, shall we? So we're on to lesson number 214 today, which is place the future in the hands of God. So it's a review of lesson 194, and then we've got the sandwich wrapper of I'm not a body, I'm free. So if you can read that, Sue. I'm not a body, I'm free.
I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me.
Or the alternative.
I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as perfect love extended me.
How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels very loving. When you say the words, it feels very peaceful. There's a little bit of, I have to really think about it, that I'm not a body, because I have a body. But yeah, I need to, I've read it a few times, and every time I read it, I really love it. But I feel that there's a little bit of resistance to it. So, yeah. Which
is normal. The body is the ego's chosen home. So in order to be a separate self, it identifies with the body very closely and says, well, look, you must be separate because you're a body. There you go. And you can see the body and you can feel it, and it's got these needs and appetites, and it can be hurt, and it can ultimately suffer and get sick and ultimately die. So you must, you must be a separate self. And that's, deeply entrenched in our minds. So it's the identification with the body that's the problem. You have a body, right? But it's not really you. It's a vehicle. Like you have a car. Is the car you? No, the car's not you. The car's a vehicle to get you from A to B. In the same way, the body is the vehicle that allows you to have a human experience and journey on your hero's journey, to ultimately awaken from the belief that you're a body.
I have a body, I have a car.
Yeah. And so, the body's useful. Well, you can take the journey. Without a car, you don't get from A to B very quickly anyway. If you had to walk everywhere, it would take a long time. So the body's there to facilitate your journey. It allows you to have an experience, but it's not you.
Yeah.
So treat it with respect. I mean, would you put rubbish in your car? Would you fill it up with sugared water instead of petrol or diesel? Would you not check the oil in the water? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't expect the car to go very well. So in the same way, okay, the body, you treat it well, you give it good fuel, you maintain it, you care for it, but don't think that it's you. It's just a vehicle. And that's the correct perception that Yeshua's trying to train us in.
Okay.
A vehicle for your journey, but not identifying with it and attaching to its needs and its wants and its desires and mistaking them for yourself. Okay, so that's the intro, just to kind of set the scene, get you into a nice kind of non-dual state beyond the body. And then I place the future in the hands of God. So you want to read that, and then the alternative.
I place the future in the hands of God. I entrust the future to the power of perfect love.
So again, feel into that. How does that feel when you say those statements?
I entrust the future to the power of perfect love. And it sits so well. It's lovely. Yeah.
It does just kind of,
yeah.
It's okay. You know, I feel safe and calm and secure in that. There's a knowledge there. It's like, okay, I'm trusting, and there's the undoing of fear. There's nothing to fear because I'm trusting, and it's all going to be fine.
Very comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this, you know, this power of perfect love is there as a felt experience, a felt power in your life right now, in your awareness right now. It's there. It's not some distant, I place the future in the hands of God. You know, the translation makes it more immediate, doesn't it? I entrust it to the power of perfect love that is within me right now, and I can experience it right now. And the purpose of the lesson is to connect you with that power. So that's why the spiritual practice is so important for you, because you every time you do it, you connect with that power beyond the ego, and it strengthens the connection. And so that connection between Father and Son, the source and its extension, is strengthened. There's the Holy Trinity diagram. So every time you do some spiritual practice, you strengthen this connection between the self and the source, and you're able to then perceive the world correctly. So as you perceive correctly, true perceptions, Christ's vision, that strengthens your true self, which then is in communication with the source, and so it strengthens that connection. And now, in the end, you have one line. The source is now coming through, and it's interpreting all the people, things, places, events, circumstances, situations, experiences of your life, and everything else, all experiences of your life that seem to exist. Everything else that seems to exist, and it's interpreting all of that for you, and you're training your mind to do that. And so that then you're installing a new operating system, which is going to ultimately help you on your hero's journey and awaken you to the truth of who you really are. And that's what you're doing every time you do a lesson. Okay, so let's ask Sally. Been quiet for a while. Sally, will you read the little few sentences there? Just a commentary on the key idea.
The past is gone, the future is not yet. Now I am freed from both, for what God gives can only be for good, and I accept what he gives as what belongs to me. Alternatively, the past is gone and the future is not yet. Now I am freed from both, for what perfect love gives can only be for good, and I accept only what it gives as what belongs to me.
So this can only be for good. You know, this hero's journey is only for your good. The challenges, the temptations, the trials, it's all for your higher good. It's all to reveal who you really are to you, and this ultimate peace, joy, love, bliss that's awaiting you beyond it all, and it's all happening for you. Every step on the journey, every temptation, every trial, every failure, it's there. It's happening for you to help you awaken, to the magnificence that you really are. And it's just, you got to just remember that. Whatever phase of the journey you're in, it's like, okay, just remember, this is where you are. Because the ego is going to try and make you forget. Then sabotages the journey. Perhaps any thoughts on that?
I didn't realize the Course in Miracles said the past is gone and the future is not yet. I didn't know that was part of this practice. We always say that, don't we, in the alternative world? But
well, of course, it's the now.
Yeah.
He's telling you, let go of the past. The past is nowhere, and the future is imagined. So these are imaginary. It's all in your mind. But in reality, there's only the now. It's only what's happening right now, which is, that awareness, pure formless awareness, and the now are really one. That awareness is always now. Otherwise, it could not be at all. See? So it's not the content of your life. It's not the content that populates your life on the timeline of consciousness. We look at our little timeline here. Timeline.
About the now is it's always where the peace is, isn't it?
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what happens on the timeline. All of these, seeming events. The ego is always trying to convince you, no, this is very important, it's very real. Psychological, emotional attachment, drama. But always that this awareness is there now. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is always available in every situation, in the now. So the now is really one with this awareness. They're the same thing. It's just language because in the now everything's okay. There's just that awareness. If you truly rooted in the now, then the content of your mind has disappeared, and you're here. You're in this awareness.
Well, that's interesting.
The now is the portal to pure formless awareness of perfect love.
So you could put now in that circle of oneness and love.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See if we can put it in. Eternity. Now. Let's put it now.
That's nice. I like that. Not thought about it like that.
Yeah. The eternity, the now. When Eckhart Tolle talks about the now, what he's referring to is this. It's the true awareness that is right here and now. So the now, one with this presence, with this awareness. It's really the same thing. They're just words to point to the same thing. So whether you say, well, I'm just in the now, and the now is I'm awakening in the now. You say pure formless awareness of perfect love is awakening me. I'm restoring my mind to pure formless awareness of perfect love. Or you call it God or the Father or heaven or love or the source or whatever. It doesn't matter as long as you have the experience. Because it is not the name. The pointer is not what it is. It's the experience of it that's being pointed to that's important. So use whatever pointer works for you. Sometimes the now is helpful. If I'm stuck on my timeline and I'm now in the past and I'm thinking about the past and what happened, and I'm projecting into the future and going, oh, what might happen? Then by definition, I'm not in the now. I'm now thinking about past and future, which are illusory. They don't really exist. And so my job then becomes get into the now. I'm just here now, right now. There's an awareness, and that awareness is that I'm okay. Right now, everything's okay. So if I stay there, I'm always okay. Even if things are kicking off and they're challenges, if I'm in that awareness, I'm okay because I'm still aware. I still have peace. Nothing's really threatening that. So the now and your pure formless awareness, your true awareness, are one. It's the same thing. And so it's telling, this is what every spiritual teaching is saying. Now is the essence of it. You must be here now. Past and future don't exist. That's part of the perennial philosophy that every great spiritual teaching has. So there's many ways of looking at it. I've showed you a number of diagrams, but it's all pointing to the same thing in different ways, isn't it? And so that's all we're doing here. It's like all these teachings, the models, it's just, okay, actually, there's just one simple truth that it's all pointing to. So will you accept that or not? In the end, that's what it comes down to. Okay, so back to the lesson. Do you want to just read the closing sandwich? I'm not a body.
I'm not a body, I'm free, for I'm still as God created me. I'm not a body, I'm free, for I'm still as perfect love extended me.
So say that with intent. Say, I am not a body. Say that. Say it. I am free. Say it like the real.
I am not a body, I am free, I am still as perfect love extended me. It says it in the past, extended, but it could be in the present, couldn't it? For I'm still as perfect love extends me.
Yes. We could change that. For I'm still as perfect love extends me. If you like. Perfect love extends me. I like that. Just got to go back and change all the lessons.
Yeah, sorry about that, but it just feels like it was in the past. After all this talk about now.
I'm still as perfect love extended me. Yeah, well, I think what he's doing here is he's going, I'm still as I was originally extended. So he's using time, but to say, well, really, it's just the same. But
when you say extends me, it's like it's in the moment happening right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I like it. I'm still as perfect love. I just need to change it all then. Maybe in the next iteration of the
next
project.
year.
Change it all. But that's how it goes. You look and you go, oh, okay, actually, because the language points you subtly to the truth, if you're allowed to. So it's becoming more and more refined with your language. Yet more to the truth. Still as perfect love extends me. Oh, nice one. So
we're going to do a meditation now. I see Sue's getting ready to snuggle down.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're up for that.
Time for a meditation, and then I've got to go back to work.
Right. Okay. So that's all cool. So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. And so just scan your mind. You're noticing any thoughts, any emotions, going on, any related body sensations. Just observing what's happening from this place of pure awareness. Very quiet, very still. And if there's any thoughts and emotions that are difficult, negative, distracting, disturbing in any way, shape, or form, observe them and be willing to let them go with the help of your breath. And today's lesson, say, I'm not a body, I'm free, for I am still, as perfect love extends me. And then you exhale, and you let it all go. Just releasing whatever that difficulty was, the block to the awareness of love's presence, as Yeshua calls it in the introduction to the text. Blowing it away with the breeze of your breath into the nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest. And peace and stillness. At the bottom of the exhale, there's a gap between breaths. And this gap, find this deep stillness. Peace that passes all understanding, it's been called. And in this peace, say to yourself, I entrust the future to the power of perfect love. Or if you prefer the original, I place the future in the hands of God. So you're trusting this deeper power, power of perfect love, to show you the way always. And breathe in again. So breathe this power in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is infused with this power of perfect love. Let's breathe it in. And let it come into every part of your mind, part of your body. You're immersed in it. Surrender to it. Deeply, fully, and completely. When you totally trust this power, sort the details of your life out, then you are completely safe, secure. There's no need for fear. So trust undoes fear. Fear is an essential part of the ego, so it undoes the ego, sense of a separate self, and helps you transcend it into truth of who you really are. In the Christ, in the one self. So there's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. Observe your breath. The breath take you deeper and deeper with each breath into still, calm, quiet place in your mind. Beyond fear. Beyond all illusions. Into a timeless now. Eternal now moment. Beyond the dream. And there's really nowhere else to go, and there's nowhere else to want to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. And so you sink inwards with each breath, sinking deeper and deeper to the still, calm, quiet, still, calm, quiet state of mind, otherwise known as the kingdom of heaven. The Buddha called it nirvana, state of perfect peace, joy, bliss. So allow that to arise in your mind and your heart. Many thoughts arise and emotions related to those thoughts seem to disturb this deep peace. You just observe them casually and you remind yourself that I entrust the future to the power of perfect love. There's no need to fear because the past is gone, the future is not yet here. The future only arrives as the present moment. So now I am freed from both. Say this to yourself. Now I am freed from both. For what God or perfect love gives can only be for good. And I accept only what it gives as what belongs to me. And then just rest in the peace that this brings you. Only the peace of pure formless awareness. Perfect love, which is available now to you, in the now, nowhere else, not in the past, not in the future, because those don't exist. Those are false ideas. So only the good of this awareness can be true. Just blow out all dark clouds that seem to deny this perfect love. Breathe it into every pore, every muscle, and imagine breathing in a golden or white light, if you like. If you don't visualize light, well, just feel a sense of lightness coming into your mind. You blow these clouds away with the breeze of your breath. To the nothingness they really are. So just sink inwards to this deep peace. Silence is the greatest teacher. You experience in the silence the truth that you can entrust the future to the power of perfect love, because it is always there, it's always here now. It's the eternal love, eternal light that you are. Just rest in this deep stillness for a few minutes of silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. So place the future in the hands of God and trust the future, the power of perfect love. Because I'm not a body, I am free. This is all possible because I am still as so just coming back into an awareness of the body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Again, scan your mind to observe any thoughts, emotions, sensations going on. Particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricted in any way, shape or form. Observe that and just be willing to let it go. Blow it all out with the breeze of your breath. So blow it all out, let it go. The exhale, imagine it's like a dark cloud leaving you. Notice how the air flows out of your mouth, the chest and the stomach suck back in. Energy subsides back down the front channel of your body into the lower stomach and the groin. So put some attention down there on the count of 2. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling with your hands touching. Noticing you breathe in again, the air flowing into your nose, subtle sensation of the breath in the nostrils and the touch of the breath just below the nose. Notice what you're feeling and touching, your hands. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. Notice what you're hearing. Observing all the sense perceptions quietly, with no judgment, just this presence, the power of perfect love is behind everything. It's there right now in your awareness. It's going to come in and reinterpret. Reinterpret your dream for you entirely. Help you maintain a state of perfect peace, trust, even while you're in a dream world. You're trusting in a power that is beyond this world. So now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes gently. Just look around and notice that deep peace is still there in your mind. Nothing's really changed. Doesn't matter what you look at, peace is still there. So your eyes randomly rest on a few objects for a second or two at a time, then move on. Notice that the underlying awareness is the same. True awareness, which is always true, is always there. And you can entrust the future to the power of perfect love, because this awareness is always there guiding you. And no matter what happens in the content of your life, this awareness remains true. And so you can always stay at peace. So that brings us to the end of the meditation. Thank you for joining Sally and Sue. There's some text to do today, so if you want to stay on the call and do the text, I'm quite happy to. Don't have to go anywhere, but if you need to leave, then thank you for joining. And okay, bye, Sally, and namaste.
Thank you, Jono. I think I might leave just because I have promised I'll see my mum this afternoon, and I think I need to just rest a little before I go. Thank you for today very much.
It's my pleasure. This is what it's about. It's doing this work, and very meaningful. So I hope it helps.
It does, you. And I will be on more regularly. That's my plan. And I'll give myself time for it.
Great. I look forward to seeing you early next week then.
Yes. Okay. Lovely.
All right.
All right then.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye for now.
No.
Okay, so we have a bit of text to do, which I'm just going to read quickly. I've done some translation. So let's have a look at the text, which is section 2 of chapter 26, Many Forms, One Correction, it's called. So I'm just going to read the alternative, speed things up a bit. I've done some translation already, so it starts off by saying, it is not difficult to understand the reasons why you do not ask the Holy Spirit or remembrance of perfect love to solve all problems for you. it has not greater difficulty in resolving some than others. Let's change that. It does not. Does not have greater difficulty resolving some than others, because every problem is the same to it, because each one is solved in just the same respect and through the same approach. The aspects that need solving do not change, whatever form the problem seems to take. The problem can appear in many forms, and it will do so while the problem lasts. So there's no purpose to attempt to solve it in a special form. It will recur and then recur again and yet again until it has been answered for all time and will not arise again in any form. And only then are you released from it. So he's saying there's no order of difficulty in miracles. Every problem is the same because every problem is the result of a belief in separation. So only one problem really behind all the many forms of separation that the ego has invented, and trying to solve it in a special form doesn't work because we're not really getting to the root of the problem, which is the idea of separation, the belief in separation. So letting go of that belief is the only answer. There's one problem and one solution, which echoes lesson 79 and lesson 80. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved, I think is lesson 79, and lesson 80 is let me recognize that all my problems have been solved. So one problem, one solution. And if we can accept the answer, which is simply the letting go of all belief in separation, then we have the answer and we are released from all problems of separation. So there's only one answer, one approach that's going to work, and that is the letting go of our belief in separation in all its forms. So what confuses us is we seem to have different forms of separation going on, but actually, in truth, it's all the same idea, just taking many forms. So having said that, let's move on to number 2, paragraph 2. So the Holy Spirit, or the remembrance of perfect love, offers you release from every problem that you think you have. They are the same to it because each one, regardless of the form it seems to take, is a demand that someone suffer loss and make a sacrifice that you might gain. Make a sacrifice so that you might gain. So you're really asking for someone else to lose so you can gain, which is the thought system of the ego. Based on sacrifice, it believes you can only gain when someone else loses. When the situation is worked out and no one loses, is the problem gone? So the problem is gone when the situation is worked out so no one loses, because it was just an error in perception. And now has been corrected. So one mistake is not more difficult for it to bring to truth than is another. It's not more difficult for it to bring. Not more difficult for it to bring to truth. One mistake more difficult to bring to truth one mistake than it is another. So the Holy Spirit doesn't see orders of difficulty in miracles. So there is only one mistake. There's only one mistake. Put a quote on there. The whole idea that loss is possible and could result in gain for anyone. So the idea that loss is possible, sacrifice is possible, and this could somehow help someone to gain is a mistake, an error. So if this were true, then pure formless awareness of perfect love would be unfair. Sin would be possible, attack justified, and vengeance fair. So one mistake, if it's true, the idea of separation, that we can separate from our source, we can destroy love and then lose that love, sacrifice. That's the basis of all sacrifice. We've lost pure formless awareness of perfect love, and now have this false identity instead. If this were true, then pure formless awareness of perfect love would be unfair. Sin would be possible, attack justified, and vengeance fair. So the ego has invented all of these things from its version of the self as part of its denial of pure formless awareness of perfect love. And now it's saying this is true and this is God. God is an unfair God. God is a God of judgment. You have sinned, you will be punished. Attack is justified and vengeance fair. And the Holy Spirit is saying none of that is true. That's all false, based on the tiny mad idea of separation, which is false. And so sacrifice, which comes with the separation. We sacrificed oneness for the separate self that we invented. That sacrifice in any form, any loss must be untrue. And we simply need to see that's the case. That's the one error we've made. And then we can correct it by simply dismissing it and saying this error is not true in whatever form it may occur. So again, one problem, the error of separation and all of its consequences, including sacrifice and sin and guilt and death, and one correction, which is letting go of it and the realization that none of it is true. Okay, so moving on to number 3, paragraph 3. So this one mistake in any form, one mistake being separation. There's one correction. There is no loss. And to think there is a mistake. There is no loss. And it is a mistake to think there is. So it's just a mistake. Sacrifice, loss, any of these thoughts is a mistake and nothing else. You have no problems, though you think you have. You have no problems, although you may think you have. So we think we have, but they're not true. And yet, You could not think so if you saw them vanish one by one without regard to their apparent size, complexity, or place and time. Place, they occur. Say place and time. Place and time, they seem to occur. Or any attribute which you perceive that makes each one seem different from the rest. So whatever you think is different, they have a different form, they occur at different times, different places, different people, characters involved. They're all the same. So do not think the limits you impose on what you see can limit pure formless awareness of perfect love in any way. And see to perceive. Do not think the limits you impose on what you perceive can limit pure formless awareness of perfect love in any way. So we have perceptual limits. It's a perceptual problem, as David Hoffmeister says. We have a perceptual problem. This creates limits and blocks. But this doesn't limit pure formless awareness of perfect love in any way, because it is by definition unlimited. So it's all just a mistake. We just need to realize that. And in the realizing of that, restore our mind to this awareness, the pure formless awareness of perfect love, that is unlimited by definition. And then we're home, and the problem is solved. One problem of separation is solved if we restore our mind to pure formless awareness of perfect love. So moving on to number 4, paragraph 4, the miracle of justice can correct all errors. Every problem is an error. It does injustice to the extension of pure formless awareness of perfect love. Extension of perfect love, and therefore is not true. So every problem is just an error, and it is injustice, because there are no problems in truth. We are entitled to perfect peace and happiness free of problems. That is our true nature. So all problems are an injustice to the extension of perfect love. Remembrance of perfect love does not evaluate injustice as great or small or more or less. They have no properties to it. The Holy Spirit, remembrance of perfect love, does not evaluate these injustices in any way. It doesn't make them bigger or smaller or more or less. They have no properties to it. Like that, they have no real properties. So there's no reality to them. These attributes, great or small, more or less, are perceptual. They are invented by the ego. So they are mistakes from which the extension of perfect love, Son of God, which is us, all of us, is suffering, but is suffering needlessly. And so it takes the thorns and nails away. Thorns and nails are symbolic of the takes these circumstances. Thorns and the nails are what seem to be causing you pain. So it seems to take, so it takes what seems to be causing you pain. Does not pause to judge whether the hurt be large or little. The hurt is large or little. It makes but one judgment. Makes only one judgment. The curl on there instead. To hurt pure formless awareness of perfect love's extension must be unfair. And therefore is not so. So it's saying no hurt, no pain, no suffering is justified in any respect, in any form. These all justify separation. They all are false. So they can all be let go of. Whether it's happening to you or to someone else, it's the same thought system caused by one tiny mad idea of separation. It can be let go of. So you who believe it's safe to give, but some mistakes to be corrected. You believe it is safe to give only some mistakes to be corrected while you keep the others to yourself. Remember this: justice is total. There's no such thing as partial justice. Right, so there's only truth and illusion. Justice is which comes from the truth. It's absolutely total. The Holy Spirit lets go of all falsehood and restores the mind to the truth. That is the justice of God. That everyone will be saved or awakened ultimately. So there's no such thing as partial justice. The extension of perfect love is guilty, then it is condemned. It deserves no mercy. There's no mercy from the pure formless awareness, the God of justice, from the It deserves no more mercy from the pure formless awareness of justice. So pure formless awareness is justice. Maybe we need to change that from the justice of pure formless awareness. But do not ask pure formless awareness of perfect love to punish a person because you find her guilty and want her to die. Pure formless awareness of perfect love offers you the means to see her innocence. Would it be fair to punish her because you will not look at what is there to see? So saying to us, don't try and condemn anyone. Want them to die because that's what you're doing when you condemn them. You will not perceive what is there to see. What is there to perceive? In truth. So each time you keep a problem for yourself to solve or judge, there's one that has no resolution. You've made it great. Past the hope of healing. You've made it impossibly big. So we make these problems impossibly big and past beyond the hope. Beyond the hope of healing. Beyond the hope of resolution. You deny the miracle of justice can be fair if you do this. So you then deny. And then deny the miracle of justice can be fair. So what he's saying here really is that we must see the innocence in someone. It's always there. It's because we misperceive, we want to see the guilt and the sin. Doesn't mean that pure formless awareness, the perfect love, the innocence of everyone is not there. So what we shouldn't do is keep problems for ourselves, try and solve them through the ego, which is the thought system that made them up in the first place. As Einstein said, significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. So we must let them go in order to solve them. So it's another level of thinking that's going to do that, which is exactly what Yeshua is asking us to do through this course, to let go of all of our belief in our perceived problems, find the pure formless awareness of perfect love in our mind that transcends them, and then let that inspire us to think and speak and act in a way that is miraculous, that then allows the problem to be resolved on the level of form, but it must always be resolved in our minds first. So as within, so without. If you see what's outside was really within, outside, then you'll be confused. You think the problem's outside, but it's actually in your own mind, in your own belief. So he continues with number 6. If pure formless awareness of perfect love is just, then can there be no problems that justice cannot solve? But you believe that some injustices are fair and good and necessary to preserve yourself. As these problems that you think are great cannot be resolved. There are those who want to suffer loss, and no one whom you wish to be preserved from sacrifice entirely. So we actually want people to suffer, we want people to lose in the ego's thought system. It makes the idea of loss real, it makes us separate from them, keeps the idea of separation going, and helps us to be more special than they are. If they've lost and we've gained, then we must be different and more special than they are. So consider once again your special function. One is given you to see in her perfect sinlessness. So your special function is to see this person's sinlessness. So one person given to you. One person is brought into your life to help you perceive in her perfect sinlessness, perfect innocence. So as you see it in that person, then you see it in yourself. And you will ask no sacrifice of her, because you could not will she suffer loss. You see her only as innocent. Miracle of justice you call forth will rest on you as surely as on her. Justice of pure formless awareness says everyone in the end must experience love and peace and joy. That is their true nature. That's the justice of the source. Nor the remembrance of perfect love be content until it is received by everyone. So the plan of God's pure formless awareness of perfect love plays out to the remembrance of that is that everyone will receive it. Ultimately, that's the plan of the at-one-ment, universal oneness. But what you give to it is everyone's. So the miracle of justice you call forth will rest on you as surely as on her. Miracle of justice you call forth will apply to you as surely as to her. All the remembrance of perfect love be content until it is received by everyone. What you give to it is everyone's, and by your giving, yet can it ensure that everyone receives it equally. Can ensure that everyone receives it equally. Through your giving of it. So we are asked to see someone, special person in our life without sin, with innocence, to see them only as innocent. And in this perception, so we are healed, and we give that healing to everyone, including them. So think then how great your own release will be when you're willing to receive correction for all your problems. You're willing to allow all your problems to be corrected. You will not keep one, for pain in any form you will not want. And you will see each little hurt resolve before the remembrance of perfect love's gentle sight. And you will perceive each little hurt is resolved in the remembrance of perfect love's gentle perception. For all of them are little in its sight, and worth no more than just a tiny sigh before they disappear, to be forever undone and unremembered. For all of them are little in its sight, and worth no more than just a tiny sigh before they disappear, to be forever undone and unremembered. Unremembered, forgotten, shall we say. Undone and forgotten. For what seemed once to be a special problem, a mistake without a remedy, sacrifice is gone. In its place, the love of pure formless awareness of perfect love, love of God, the pure formless awareness of perfect love can be remembered and will shine away all memory of sacrifice and loss. So he's saying when we let go, then our minds are healed and pure formless awareness of perfect love is revealed, remembered in its full magnificence, shining away all the memory of darkness of sacrifice and loss. And this can be given to us through forgiving one person, through seeing that one person in their innocence and their purity. And that is what every person in your life, every special relationship holds out for you. Possibility of, through forgiving them, through really letting them go, all your misperceptions about them, having the magnificence of love revealed to you. So God or pure formless awareness of perfect love cannot be remembered until justice is loved instead of feared. Cannot be unjust to anyone or anything because it knows that everything that is belongs to it, and that truly exists, shall we say. And will forever be as it extended it. So this reality, oneness, the ground of being, will forever be, and will be forever as it extended it. Nothing it loves but must be sinless and beyond attack. So everything it loves must be sinless. Everything it loves must be innocent and beyond attack. No special function opens wide the door. Opens the door wide. Beyond which is the memory of its love, kept perfectly intact and undefiled. So beyond this door, separation, lies this perfect love, pure formless awareness of perfect love. And all you need to do is but to wish the state of pure formless awareness be given you. State of pure to be. State of pure formless awareness. State of hell. State of victimhood, which is hell. And every bolt and barrier that seems to hold the door securely barred and locked will merely fall away and disappear. For it is not your source's will, it's not your source's awareness. You should offer or receive less than it gave. It's not in your source's awareness that you should offer or receive less than it gave when it extended you in perfect love. Okay, so that brings us to the end. Let's do a quick summary. Key message of this section is that every problem is the same. no big, small problems in truth. There are no large or more difficult problems to solve. They are all unreal. So remembrance of perfect love helps me to perceive this clearly and let them go. Without regarding their apparent size, complexity at all. I do let go of perception of my problems. I realize that I have no problems and I will be in the state of pure formless awareness or heaven. One perceiving only the innocence perceiving only the innocence of one person with whom I have a seemingly special relationship in this world. Will teach me that awareness, perfect love, is our shared identity and reality. My awareness will be this will help me attain and stay in this happy and awakened state. To live in this happy and awakened state. Okay, so key message of the section is there are no larger, more difficult problems to solve because they are all unreal, because all problems based on the idea of sacrifice and loss are unreal. Remembrance of perfect love helps me to perceive this clearly let them go without regarding their apparent size or complexity at all. If I do let go of my misperceptions that seem to be problems, I will realize I have no problems and I will be in a state of pure formless awareness. And perceiving only the innocence in one person with whom I have a seemingly special relationship in this world will teach me that pure formless awareness of perfect love is our shared reality. So perceiving only the innocence in one person with whom I have a seemingly special relationship in this world will teach me that pure formless awareness of perfect love is our shared reality, and this will help me to live in this happy and awakened state. So if someone's been difficult, you forgive them. In other words, you let go of your misperceptions and you see only the innocence, then you correct your own mind and you are able to stay in this pure formless awareness of perfect love, our shared reality, our identity. So I will post that out, this whole translated section, as well as the personalized executive summary shortly. So have a read of that tonight. So I hope you enjoyed that. And it's me signing off for today. Thanks for joining, and namaste. Which means the divine self in me acknowledges and honors that same self in you.